Hi, I'm Chef Isabel, and today I'm at ATP in the gardens. These tomatoes are blooming beautifully, so I wanted to come out here and pick a few. Let's take a little dig in here and see that. I've got some little mini sprinkle-sized cherry tomatoes. Just beautiful. I'm gonna pick these out and get a bowl full, nice and ripe and full of color. Oops. Some of these are popping on me pretty easily. They're very delicate. You can smell the sweetness just from the, it's nice. So you can definitely just eat these right out of the bowl. But today we're gonna cook with them. And I'm gonna make a garlic-infused tomato garnish for my salmon, and we're gonna use elephant garlic. Elephant garlic is a tongue twister. So come join me. Hi, so now we're inside, and I've got everything set up here where we're gonna use. I've got some of the mother of thyme, my elephant garlic, my tomato sprinkles, olive oil, and some balsamic vinegar. Start off I want a medium-low heat. Get that pan going. For this recipe, normally if I'm using a lot of oil and I'm gonna heat it up, I'll usually tell you don't go through the expense of using your olive oil, because you're gonna heat it, it's gonna lose its nutritional value, and sometimes it even loses its flavor depending on what type of olive oil you purchased. But for this particular recipe, I want the flavor, and I know that this olive oil has it's a Tuscan flavor to it, and that's gonna come out in these tomatoes. And so I'm really banking on the aroma and the flavor from the olive oil to come together with my tomatoes, because I want to keep this recipe as simple as possible. So I'm just gonna pour that oil in there, and it's gonna be about a 1/4 cup. So I think that's a lot of oil. But you want that flavor to really come out. And if you've ever been to Europe or Spain or Italy, they tend to use a lot of olive oil in most of the recipes. So it's just here that we tend to keep it at 2 tablespoons. Usually 2 tablespoons is always the magic number with our recipes. But if you ever come to my tapas class during the year, you'll notice that we use quite a bit of olive oil. Most Spanish recipes call for a lot. All right, so I've got the olive oil heated, and I'm gonna use my elephant garlic. And this is what it looks like when you buy it at the store, and you can't find it everywhere. Sprouts doesn't carry this. I actually found this at Walmart. I didn't have to go to Central Market or Market Street for this. I found it at Walmart, and I want to say it cost me like a little over $2. And you see these cloves, it's just like a gigantic head of garlic. So this is 1 clove. It's a giant. So, and I'm not going to use it all. Slice that up. Just really thin. Oops, my olive oil is a little too hot. Let me turn this down. So I'm going to put my garlic in here. I don't want you to have trouble seeing that, but it's the lowest setting on this portable burner is still pretty high, so I don't want to burn my garlic. So if you're at home and you have an electric stovetop like I do, unfortunately, I didn't think it through when I bought my house. I should have thought about the purchase around the stove, you know, versus the backyard, the size of the backyard. But if you have an electric stove, you're gonna want to start it at a 6 and then bring it down to a 3. And then if you've got a gas stove, obviously you just want to make sure that you don't want to brown the garlic. You just want to, you know, infuse the oil with the garlic. So just keep an eye on it. And if it's getting too hot and you're worried about it, just do what I'm doing. Just take it off the heat and just, you know, swirl it a little bit. And I don't know if that really brings out the flavor of the garlic, but I just like to swirl it. Okay. So before I put the tomatoes, I'm gonna let the oil cool down just a little because it's still a little too hot for my tomatoes. And the size of the tomatoes, I don't want to ruin them. I want them to stay, you know, keep their form and the brightness. So that's something you want to think about. Is I'm actually just gonna turn this off for a second because it really is putting off a lot of heat. So these tomatoes we picked from outside, I've got all these gray colors. Look at that. And if you don't already and you just want to experiment with doing, like, you know, making your food look, you know, beautiful versus just kind of just throwing some red tomatoes in a pan, you know, pick the different types of little tomatoes. They've got all different colors and they just look so great on a plate. And I even picked some of the green ones that weren't ripe yet just because of the color. It's not gonna alter my recipe anymore. I'm just gonna basically have like little pops of sweet and tart flavors. So it works with what I'm trying to do. And if you notice, I'm not sure what this is called. I think it's called the calyx. I don't know, I know it's what it's called on a rose, but I'm gonna leave these on there. You know, I'm not gonna, don't worry about wasting the time to take these off. They're edible. I mean, if you're picky, it's fine, take them off, but they're edible, you know? Why waste them? Okay, so finally my oil stopped sizzling, and again, this is why I reiterate, don't waste your money on olive oil if you're not looking for the actual flavor, because you're just gonna kill it when you heat it up too much, and it's just gonna lose all its nutritional value, and you don't want to spend your money that way. So for this particular recipe, you know, keep that heat on low and just infuse that flavor from the garlic. And so I'm gonna turn this back on and let's see if it works with me here. So typically for this recipe, I just leave garlic, tomatoes, a little bit of salt and white pepper. That's usually my combination. It's always salt and white pepper. Once in a while, some cracked pepper. Just gonna let those sit for a minute. Turn that heat as low as possible. And I'm going to come over here and just gather my thyme. Just kind of sprinkle that over the top. And again, this is the mother of thyme, so it's got a little bit of the stems are a little different, a little woodier, a little thicker. And if you're using thyme that you bought from the store and it's got the tender green stems, don't worry about doing what I'm doing. Just throw those stems in there. You know, you can chop them up if you want. But just throw the stems in there. They're so full of flavor. Most people just throw them away and they take off the leaves, and you spend so much time taking the leaves off and, you know, kind of getting that blurry vision going. But you can cook with the stems. That's good enough. It's getting too hot, so I'm going to take that off again. Grab a spatula. I'll be right back. Actually, I'll just use these tongs. You see how the brightness in those tomatoes is really coming out now? You're gonna wanna cook these for about 10 minutes to 15 minutes, just to really infuse the tomatoes with the garlic. I'm not gonna keep them on this long because my heat is way too high and I can't control it with this portable stovetop. But it was the easiest way to get you to see every detail of what I'm doing. So we're just gonna adjust, right? That's what most cooking is about anyway, right? Usually you have these little mishaps and things don't go quite the way you want, and you know what? Don't stress, just adjust. And if you want to cook these down even further, by all means do it. It's just completely your preference. This is just a base recipe. I like to keep mine whole because I like the way they look like little sprinkles on my food. But certainly if you want to keep cooking these down beyond the 10 minutes and getting they'll start popping and getting a little mushy, and the flavor is even more intense. So by all means, go ahead and do it. This is just a base recipe. You do what you want with it, and make it your own. Okay. So I'm going to stop right there. I have some salmon here that I broiled earlier, and I'm just gonna actually just pull, just for presentation's sake. And yes, I do this at home for my family. That's just me. I like my food to look beautiful all the time. So honestly, I think it just makes me feel good. I told you in another video, I said, half the battle of, good cooking is just making your food look pretty and giving that visual presentation to people where they look at it and they're just, mouths already watering and they just think it's so beautiful, it's gonna taste great. So I'm gonna layer that garlic. And don't worry, this is not a ton of, elephant garlic is much milder than your regular garlic. So don't worry about putting too much on there. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? You see how when even using those green tomatoes, how it adds so much color? And I'm not gonna worry about them being tart because they've already infused the flavor from the garlic and the thyme. So they're gonna taste just as wonderful as the sweet tomatoes. And you don't have to do this, but my favorite thing at the very end is to top it off with a little balsamic vinegar. And you're gonna be shocked. This is a very, very good vinegar. And I got it at Costco, believe it or not, for $25. So if you have a Costco membership, this is a very, very good quality balsamic vinegar for the price. Oh, and it's not gonna look this way. If you're gonna go to Costco, it's not gonna look this way. It's gonna actually come in this amazing packaging. Makes me feel good about buying it. It's like you open the box and you get the authenticity book and you get your little syringe and it's amazing. So not that I'm plugging Costco or anything, but if you can find a good deal on such a good quality balsamic vinegar, I'm gonna tell you about it. So this is it. Isn't that beautiful? Enjoy.